Hey, everybody, welcome back to another edition of my podcast, Printing's Alive, with me, your host, Warren Werbitt. Today we have a guest. Yes, I know you're sitting there going, it's probably another special guest, but you are right, super special today. We have Nick Benkovich. How you doing, Nick?
I'm doing great, Warren.
Cool. So today I'm going to just go quickly and read a little intro that I prepared. I'm actually going to put my glasses on that are readers because I lost my other glasses and I would be struggling without them. But I'll do this quickly so I can take them off. I'm not even looking up because there's a bad glare in the lens. If you're not watching but listening, it's not a problem. But today's episode's a little different, and honestly, it's an important one. We talk a lot on this podcast about the growth, the technology, wins, what's next in print. What we don't always talk about is what happens when things are suddenly coming to a stop. My guest today is Nick. We got his last name before, don't have to mess it up again. Nick was recently laid off, and instead of brushing it under the rug or spinning it into some fake everything happens for a reason story, he agreed to have a real conversation with me. And important one it is. We talked about, or we will talk about, how he felt, what he goes through, or what's gone through his head in those moments, looking at the ceiling at night in the dark, which are probably a person's worst time when they're going through anything bad. And then how you start to reset for your next job. What happens when your routine disappears overnight. This isn't about blame. It's about being human. It's about being professional, about figuring out what comes next. So truth is, Nick's a good guy. He's sharp. He's handling this with honesty, perspective. And I think a lot of people are going to relate to this because a lot of people go through this. So that being said, we spoke last week. I saw your post and then I reached out to you right away because, I kind of know what it's like. I've had a couple experiences in my own life where that's happened. I remember once, just quickly, one of my first jobs working at a company, went to go work at it, got hired at another company that took me away from my job. Very exciting. Somebody's hiring you from your job.
Yay.
I go in, good pay, a little bit of travel. 3 months in, I get fired. And I'm freaking out. Why am I fired? I'm fired because the two partners didn't speak to each other before they hired me. One hired me because he was pissed with the other and didn't care. And then once I was in, the other one obviously cared enough to have a conversation, and they came to me and were like, one of them came to me, the guy who hired me, and he says, "I'm really sorry, but you're done." In my case, I was blown away, was not expecting it. I got in my car, and to be honest with you, I broke down. I cried. I didn't understand why I was fired. I thought I was good. The whole idea of the rejection and you're done, I never experienced that before. I'll tell you that it ended well in the sense that I sued them for wrongful dismissal because they took me away from a job that I was at and was good at for a bunch of years. And that's when I settled with them and got enough money to buy my wife her engagement ring. And I went on, and from there I went into print. So my story ended off not too bad, right? And it was a definite benefit for the wife. So that was good.
There's a win.
And that's it. But for you right now, what happened exactly?
It all sort of came to an end after 13 years. I got the call that it would be my last day, and I guess for me it was a surprise, a shock. Mostly because I've never been in this situation before. I know others have, but I've never been in the phase of losing my job. It's never happened. I've always had the luxury in my career that as I'm in my job, somebody calls me up and says, "Hey, would you be interested in another job?" And I move to the next thing. So it's a lot of processing that goes on when you hear that news, whether you know it's coming or not. There's just, they talk about the stages of grief, and in many ways, that's how you have to process it.
I think there's 5 stages of grief.
Mm-hmm.
I should have them written down, but I don't. But I think the first one is anger.
Mm-hmm.
I should know them. I spent 2 years in grief and going through all of that, but it'll come back to me. But yeah, you're right. So I have a question. It was sudden. It's the end of the year. Was there no feeling? Did you feel anything in the company off? Have you had any reviews lately? Was there any negative feedback? Was there anything that would indicate anything?
No negative feedback. It was, I really the feedback that I got was that the company had decided to go in a different direction for that particular role. And so they've made that decision. And for me, it's, now processing it. I guess I keep coming back to that. It's the stages and I don't have anger. What I have is, there's the acceptance. I'll give you another one of them, Warren. It's the acceptance. After 13 years, after a pretty good career in print that I hope to continue for many more years, there was the acceptance of, and then the what comes next. And I've had an amazing outpouring from the industry of support from customers, from vendors, from partners. Interestingly enough, from people that I was part of the team that actually laid them off. I've got
Wow,
really great emails and text messages, appreciating what I did for them over the years.
that's amazing, right? So walk me through the phone rang or you called the office for something.
I got a meeting invite. I get on the meeting. We have the conversation. We won't go into the details, but essentially it was today will be your last day. HR on the call. All the details. Severance and so on. Walked me through it very reasonably. Had opportunity for questions. Obviously, I had some ideas and some things that I wanted to discuss. So I asked my questions, which was great. And then right after that, it was sort of, you're done. And so I think the thing that was hardest for me was after working with, a great team, just an amazing group of people, fantastic customers, many of them who I've got to know personally. It was the lack of ability to say goodbye, to end it. So my sadness, I guess, it was sadness that I didn't get that ending. I didn't get to say goodbye. Now, obviously, many of them have reached out and I've spoken to them since, but not being able to do that the way I wanted to do it.
But you could have called them yourself to say, like, there was no rules that said you couldn't call anyone, were there?
Absolutely not. No, no rules. And in fact, I text with several, former colleagues. WhatsApp has been a godsend, because I've got a lot of former colleagues from around the globe. So WhatsApp, LinkedIn Messenger, text messages, emails have been coming in, and it's been nice to get that feedback and the appreciation. A lot of good feedback about how much they enjoyed working with me. So that you go through those waves. I honestly, I'll say the biggest challenge for people, I think, when they get this news, in my speaking with a lot of people in the last couple of weeks that have been through this, the awareness of mental health. Don't get depressed. Be be focused. Get a routine. It's really important.
Yeah, it's funny because I purposely wore this T-shirt. You're not alone. I wore it for you, but I wore it for everybody because I remember that when it happened to me the one time, and I got in my car after, I was alone, or so I felt alone, right? Because I at the time felt, honestly, for a brief moment, I felt like a failure. I felt like a loser. I couldn't understand it because my brain was just flying at warp speed in circles because it came
Yep.
out of nowhere. I just got moved over from another company, and the welcome mat was still warm. I was like leaving before, which is kind of
Yeah.
crazy. And I was young at the time, but I was afraid to call friends and tell them I got fired.
Yeah, there is a certain amount of that, and
Right?
I'll just put it out there. I said to my wife that evening, I said, "I'm sorry, I let you down." I felt like I'd let down.
She-
I did let her down. I'd let the family down. For the first time in my entire adult life, I'm without a job, and I felt like I'd let the family down to get to this position. And so there was certainly that.
What did she say better?
Uh, you know, my wife has been
She didn't agree with you, did she?
absolutely not. My wife has been my greatest supporter over the years. She was absolutely supportive. You didn't let us down. This was the decision that was made. Now we move forward, and what comes next. So, keep focusing on what comes next, looking down the road, working the network.
So you're on. I'm still on the call. So you're on the call. The person you're on the phone with, you know them?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Like the person who did it, you know them well?
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody
And
who I'd worked with for over a year.
and was that person kind, cold? Any? Did you feel any empathy from them?
There was certainly some level of empathy. The you know obviously it's never easy, and so on either side, whether you're
Correct.
delivering the message, and I've actually sat on the other side of that conversation where I've had to let someone go, someone that I valued, someone that I respected, someone that had brought value to the business. So it's never easy, and you can rehearse these things 1,000 times. When you get there and you're looking at someone, you're seeing their face, whether it's in person or in a video conference, it's never easy. And certainly there was I guess an acceptance that it was great getting to know each other. We had a year plus working together, but it was just the time for me.
Yeah, no, it's always, I've actually, I'm smiling because I'm a wimp. I've only done it once. I've always had other people do it for me. I'm great at hiring, not so good at letting people go. And actually, the one time that I did it was probably the worst time, or the worst. It was the worst for me. I can't even speak. This was a person that worked for me in the first few years when I'd started. They had done everything for me. Like they would have thrown themselves in front of a moving train for me. And I said to them at one point, when you're 10, 15 people and everybody's all tight and it's good. And I said, dude, you got a job for life. And I found myself 5 years later sitting at the boardroom table with my HR consultant, having to explain to him that I had to let him go. And I had to let him go because he maxed out his capabilities within the organization and where we were going and all of that. And he was actually a lot cooler with it than I was. Right?
Yeah, it's interesting how people react. I've had everything from the screaming, the crying, the please no, and that's a very human reaction to the anger, outrage, and then sometimes just the acceptance. Every person is unique and different, and I think it's what makes the world interesting. If we were all the same people, wouldn't this be a boring planet to live on? But everybody takes it differently. When it comes, be professional, ask your questions, think about, in that moment, there's so much going through your brain. Even for me, there was a million things going through my brain. What comes next? What do I do? Where's health insurance? All of those questions. Now, thankfully, I had HR on. I got the understanding of the severance package and ongoing benefits and so on. Like, so not terrible, but there's still your head spinning. And honestly, after I got off the call, the only person I told, and I'll be candid, I actually toyed with the idea of not texting my wife. It was 10 o'clock in the morning, not texting my wife and just telling when she got home. Yeah, exactly. Right. But I did. I needed to tell somebody. I needed to just talk. And sometimes that's it. Have that, network, whether it's family, friends, professional colleagues. I actually reached out to a former boss of mine, who I still have an excellent relationship with, and we talked through it. how did I deal with it? How was I going to process it? What came next? Yeah, and it was a good opportunity for me to sit back and reflect. So,
Yeah, I think it's good that you've had the experience of doing it, right? So you've been
yes,
on the other side. Uh, Good on you for knowing the person sitting across from you is, you're able to say to yourself, he's probably not very comfortable either. So you're not making it totally brutal.
yes,
I think some companies are better at it than others, right? I think
yep,
when HR is involved, it makes it a little colder. But I understand that nobody wants, you always want two people in a room just because of other nonsense that goes on or has gone on in the past, and companies want to protect themselves,
yep,
right? I think when the company is doing it and the severance is proper and they take into account certain things for a couple of months so that's just not the rug pulled out from under you, especially after you've done something with a company for so long,
yeah.
right? I
It's
get the 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, you're not really anything within the company, but you're getting in the 7, 8, 10, 12, and 15 years. That's a good part about someone's life. And I do think the company should recognize that people have given, yes, they got paid to do a job, but they should be given, some recognition or for being there and doing what they did, right?
Yeah, and I've actually been in a situation many years ago when I first moved over from Australia. We were shutting down an office, and it was going to be some executive that was going to inform the staff. And I said, look, I think this needs to be more personal. And I made the effort to go to the office and tell those employees, many of them I'd known for 5, 6, 8 years, and deliver the message. It's not a great message to deliver anytime. Um, and so I think really, take it on board, be professional, be calm, and then step away. For me, it was, after the call, I said, I text my wife and got on outside and went for a walk. Just clear your head. Just take a walk,
Air,
clear
air.
your head, think about anything else, look at the beauty of the world around you, think about the things that are really important to you. I think the challenge for many of us professionally is our professional lives is how we identify ourselves, right? I'm Nick, the product guy from blah. And I think you have to step back and say, I'm so much more than that as an individual. I'm a father. I'm a husband. You know, I'm a friend.
I'm a good
Think
person.
yeah, and think about the things that are really important to you. We spend a lot of time, professionally. We're working with people. A lot of them that become good friends. But you're more than that job, and you have to remember that and focus on that. That you're a good person, and that you've developed friendships and relationships over the years because you're a good person.
Yeah, so when you say that, it makes me think of when I lost my company a few years ago. I didn't just lose my job. I lost a lot of stuff, and 120 other people lost their jobs, and a lot of vendors lost their customer who was giving them a lot of work and so forth. And it was a horrible feeling on so many fronts, right? Because I was responsible for so many people, not including my own family and all of that. And when you lose it, and I remember going to there was a Canadian print show that happened maybe a couple months after, and I signed up and I went to Toronto, and I remember being there when the show was starting, and I was standing at the door, and I couldn't open the door, right? Like
Yep.
I couldn't open the door, double doors. I couldn't open them up and walk in because I'm standing there frozen. And all that's going through my head is, oh my God, I fucked up. I didn't screw anyone intentionally, but I know people think that you screw them. And I'm pretty out there in the industry trying to do good all the time, and sometimes trying to get the shoe out of my mouth, but for the most part, it's what I love, it's what I do, what I'm passionate about. And something hit me and it just said, don't be like this. You always opened every door in front of you. Open the door and walk in. And I opened the doors and I walked in, and the first thing that happened was I saw a few people, and they were like, oh, we're so happy you're here.
Yeah.
Didn't know if you would come. And I had a moment of unable to speak because I didn't know what I was going to say. And I was like, how could I not come?
Yeah.
And then as I made my steps, I felt better. And then I realized we're just all humans.
Yeah.
Screw the companies. People don't everything happens to everybody. We're not alone. There you go. It happened again. You're not alone.
Yeah.
And by the time I was a half hour in, I was getting hugs from people saying, don't worry. One company I owed money to, he was like, dude, it's business. He goes, over the years, he goes, we've done so much together. I'm not going to worry about 14 grand.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I slowly started to feel a little better.
Yeah, that's it. Look, at the end of the day, all of these companies are about people, right? It's the people that start the company. And in my history, it's the people that write the software, design the software, write the software, QA the software, deploy the software. It's people, right? And they're the relationships that you make. That's what builds the company. It's the relationships internally and externally that you build with those partners. And those things go on. As I said, one of the things that's been really gratifying for me is people that I haven't worked with in some cases 2 decades reaching out to me, and just a word of appreciation, just a thanks for your time. We really need to reconnect. I think it's good that you take the time, process it, and really focus on what's important in your life.
Yeah, and it's interesting when you say people call you, you haven't spoken to in a long time. I sit in my car sometimes when I'm driving, and I'll scan I'll just take, because you can't really touch your phone when you're in the car. So I'll just not look, but take my thing and put my finger on a contact, see who it is, and if it's someone I haven't spoken to in a while, I'll pick up the phone and just call and say, hey, just calling to say hi. And the reaction's really good because most of the time, people that don't have issues don't talk. It's just because life gets in the way in a day, a week, a month, a year, right? And just about every person that I pick up the phone to say hello is like, oh, you could hear the gratefulness in their voice that, like, I won't say you made their day, but maybe you made their day and they're happy to hear from you. So when you hear someone goes through something, picking up I picked up the phone to you. I mean,
straight away.
We know each other. We're not that tight, to be honest, with the audience, but since I went through what I went through, I got a lot more compassion in me and empathy for feeling what other people feel. And I just think it's important at this stage of my life to let some people know that they're not alone. It's just funny. It just keeps coming up, but it's so true.
It is. I mean, you're not alone. It's not a unique situation. I know, you're going to feel very isolated, right? You're going to feel very alone. You're going to have the moments of doubt. That's just human nature, right? But take the time, use the network, whether it's friends, family, colleagues, former colleagues. At some point, everyone's been through a difficult situation, whatever that happens to be. There's a million cliches. The grass is always greener. The next thing will be the great thing. But let's focus on the here and now. Making sure that you personally are in a good place mentally. That you're feeling comfortable in your own skin again. Because now you have to re-identify in many ways who you are. If you think about, most of the people I've worked with, they're doing 50, 55-hour weeks, right? That's a big chunk of their lives invested in a job, right? And the people that they spend the most time with, in my case, I've spent more time with many of my colleagues than I have with my family over the past, 10, 15 years.
Everybody working. Listen, if you work 40 hours a week, there's only how many hours in the week? Say 25 times 7, 175. Take off 7 hours. I'm trying to do math in my head, But out of 160 hours, you're spending 25% of them with the people you work with. You're sleeping another 25. You're in your car going to work another 12. Do the math.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, and if you're traveling for work, it's the nights in a hotel in some city, sitting on a plane. There's a lot of that becomes you. It becomes your identity. It's how you identify yourself. someone actually asked me a couple of months ago, said, what's your address? And I said 3C. And they said, what? I said, it's my favorite seat on the plane. That's sort of how I identify myself. It's the guy that lives on a plane and travels to visit, employees at various locations, travel to visit customers, travel to visit business partners, attend trade shows. That's sort of how I identified myself. But now it's about resetting that.
So, resetting. Have you done anything? Have you started to do anything? What's your thought process, and how are you handling the reset?
Yeah, look, I have a very good friend who went through something quite similar several months ago, and the best advice I got was start getting a routine, because my routine typically was up at 4:45, on calls at 5 a.m., work until 2 or 3 in the afternoon, go for a walk, stretch my legs, get a little bit of exercise, come back, get back into email. Then there's probably calls in the evening, with geographic constraints. And so that became the routine. You do that every day, to the point where, even before Saturday morning, I would wake up, just my body clock would wake me up at 4:45. I'd be laying there staring at the ceiling going, okay, so what do I do now? You need to reset. You get a routine. For me, that is get up in the morning. I check email. I, look at any messages that came in overnight. Obviously, I've got a network that spans the globe. And then get out and go for a walk. Just clear your head. Start your day on a positive note. I have the luxury of living in Southern California, sunshine, blue sky. So, mid 70s every day, even here in mid-December. But reality is you've got to have that routine. What do you do every day to keep your mind busy and to focus on something?
Yeah, me too. Well, first of all, I think we all live with first of all, as you get older, you have less sleep to begin with, right?
Yep.
But me too. I wake up every morning. I don't think I've set an alarm clock in 20 years,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah,
if
I
I go
set
to
an
bed
alarm clock. I just wake up before it. Honestly, I swear, the thing
right.
that it kills my wife, I set an alarm clock for 4:45, and at 4:41, I wake up and I get out of bed.
Yeah, so I don't set the alarm. I wake up and for me it's a little worse. I'm not a coffee drinker. I've never drank coffee. If I go to bed at 2 and I have to wake up and I wake up at 5 o'clock or whatever, I'm ready to get out of bed and go, like
Yeah.
98% of the time.
Yep.
Energized, which is a bit of a problem because too much energy sometimes no good. But I would get up and it's a little colder here. So if I wake up, rule number one for me is there is no staring at the ceiling.
Yes.
Because when you stare at the ceiling, your brain just starts to go sideways with everything that you don't want, right? So it's boom, it's get up. I got into the habit of meditating. It's 5 years I meditate now. Most mornings, some mornings
Mm-hmm.
just get up and start moving. And it's a great place for 10, 15 minutes just to set, yourself up with nothing going on. And yeah, you think of things, but you kind of push it away. And then I get up and I'll go do a 7, 8 kilometer walk. And around me, it's great. We have a mountain in the middle of the city, and there's already places to go. But I'll be back by 8 o'clock and have done so many things and have walked, 7, 8 kilometers. And most people are just like brushing their teeth,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and I think there was a famous commencement speech. Start every day by making your bed. Achieve one thing. And I think it's important. Set yourself little goals every day, right? Get the routine and set yourself little goals. The next day, my goal to do is update my resume. My goal is to create a LinkedIn post. My goal is to reach out to 5 people. My goal is whatever that happens to be. It might be, hey, you know what? Today, I'm not going to do that. Today, my goal is to fire up the smoker in the backyard and get dinner ready so my wife doesn't do it when she gets home. Whatever that is, have a goal for the day. That's something you can focus on, because when we work, it's the million emails that come in. It's the dozen meetings that we have to attend. We have to prep for those. Having goals to achieve every day, you can get to the end of the day and say, I achieved something, whatever it is. Start with something small, right? And achieve a goal every day.
Yeah. So another thing that I did at the time was I went to this charity that I know of, and I was doing Meals on Wheels in the mornings. I was
Hmm.
delivering meals to houses. I was about 2.5 to 3 hours. It's when you're working, the days sometimes go slow, but a lot of time the days fly by. And
Yes.
when you're home and you don't have a lot to do, it's like the clock goes tick, tick, tick sometimes, right? And that's
Yep.
when it gets tough. So going out and then delivering the meals, I'll just tell you personally, I just went out to do it. I didn't think about anything really, but every time I dropped the basket off or handed someone to something and they said thank you to me, um, I get goosebumps. But then it would make me also realize how fortunate I am in life, even
Yes.
though I'm not working or I don't have my company. Everything I've done, everywhere I've been, everything I've seen. My wife, well, ex-wife now, my kids, but we get along, so it's perfect. All my friends, no, we do get along. I'm not joking, and it's. I don't think we as humans actually reflect enough on ourselves on what we do and maybe what we've accomplished or what we have to be grateful for. Life is such that we're always on this treadmill of moving and next and next and not even digesting or taking in what we've done to appreciate it. Right. So I think it's a good
I,
time for people to sit down and uh, reflect on some of the good, the bad, the ugly, own what you like in each one and use that to set yourself up to prepare yourself for the next stage. Because I mean, from
yeah.
13 years ago when you started, your wants and needs have changed also along the way,
Absolutely. Yeah,
right?
it's very different. And I think, I'll tell a quick story. Many years ago, when I was quite young, I had a mentor in business. I joined the company, and on the opening day, he said to me, "You have 11 months, 3 weeks, and 2 days before I retire." So in Australia, everybody at that time was retiring at 65. He knew exactly when he was going to retire. So he gave me that as a start. And he gave me plenty of great advice. He used to have a little sign behind him on the wall that said, "No is a perfectly valid answer," which I love, because sometimes the answer just is no. But the other thing he told me was that you need to be reflective. I think we all focus on what comes next, the next challenge, the next meeting, the next project that you have to work on. And the advice he gave me was that every 3 months, every 90 days, just sit back, take a piece of paper and write down what you've accomplished personally, professionally, relationships that you've developed, and the things that you didn't do. Right? It's a great way to understand, are you bringing value to your professional life, but also to your relationships, your personal relationships. I've really neglected that relationship. I really should make more of an effort. I need to reach out to that family member that I haven't spoken to for a while. And we've all got those family members that for various reasons we haven't spoken to. We've had those colleagues that we haven't spoken to. Reflect on it.
Yeah, and again, pick up the phone if you have to, and just say
Yeah.
hi. No, I have well, okay, I have phoned a few people who hung up on me, but I can't get into those reasons why, and I probably deserved it. But for the most part, most people won't hang up on you; they'll be appreciative, right?
Yeah.
And then it's actually kind of funny sometimes how you rekindle something because you don't know where the day, the week, the month, the year went. And it's as if you were just together the other day and the laughing is there and that feeling is there and that whole togetherness. It's really, for me, when I go through these things, I really try to surround myself with my tight friends because my friends are amazing. Um, Fill my kids in if they're old enough to understand exactly, because the more honest you are with them, um, they learn from you as well. They might not even understand it. Kids today, I say kids because anyone younger than me is a kid. If they get let go of a job, it's like the world just ended. So they need to hear
Oh
and know that
yeah.
it goes on. You need to really communication. It's really
Yes.
communication. So I
Yeah, and
have
I
a
think
question.
it,
I'm
I
thinking
think
about, so they get on the phone with you. Is there anything you think that they did? What did you think they did right? And what did you think they did wrong, if anything?
um from look what I
Let me
would have.
rephrase that. What could they maybe, what could they have done maybe better for you to lessen the impact in that immediate, uh, right? Because you can have a heart attack sometimes when you're sprung on something like that.
I already had one of those a dozen years ago, so I'm good
Oh, so
now.
you know it was coming.
Um, but no, I think for me, and I said it to someone just yesterday. I think it was the sadness of not being able to say goodbye and be able to hand off. We all have projects. I had probably half a dozen draft emails that I hadn't hit send on, right? Being able to, I think, close the chapter. I felt like the chapter didn't close well, right? It was like we were halfway through the chapter and that's it. It's like watching the television show and you miss the last 5 minutes where all the secrets are revealed. I think for me, that was the thing that was most difficult, was that there was no closing of the chapter for me after 13 years to be able to, close out that relationships with, customers, with employees, to hand off all of the projects that were in flight. That's the thing I really wish we, been able to do better.
So do you think with the projects and things that you had left open that there was anything in there that was relatively important that the company should have asked you some things? Do you think that they did an injustice to their customers by not finding out more of certain things from you?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of, partially completed projects, things that were still, as you know, percolating in your head. You've got random notes scattered, half completed documents. I think that would have been nice to really finish out properly. Even if it had been just hey, here's a half finished document, here's my thought process, here's where I'm at, because I had a conversation with X individual at Y company. So I think that was, for me, the most difficult piece. But we move on.
Yeah, no, but that would upset me too if I've spent 13 years working, giving my life to a company, them knowing I'm dedicated to the company, and at the end, not to ask me if there's anything important that I'm on that they should know, instead of just they come on and now, 13 years, you have your laptop. I know when I work, it becomes your own person. It's your life, right? Because you don't have two laptops, one for home and one for work. Um, I know, I'll let people download, unload their stuff in the office. I prefer if the machine doesn't leave. But I know, I once at a place after a long time, had my email just cut off overnight, and I couldn't even check anything or find my own stuff. And I didn't like that. I mean, I don't know why anybody would be worried at that point, but how was that with you? Did they?
Yeah, so I mean, for me, it was the call's over, you're disconnected, laptop goes dark. But the offer was there that they would take the laptop back, they would image it off and give me anything that I needed. Now, I am one of those unusual people that does have two laptops. Actually, I'm looking around my office now, and I actually still have three laptops, and a desktop sitting here in the corner. So for me, all my personal was on there, other than things like iCloud photo syncing, but it's all in the cloud. But other than that, everything was sort of in my control anyway.
Yeah, I think most people have like a one email, one place. So after so many years, you go and it's kind of like an insult when they just cut it off,
Yeah,
right?
I have about a half a dozen emails, addresses.
Me too.
So
It's awful.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's yeah.
and I guess from the company side, when you're dealing with so many people, if you take a moment to think about it, they want to protect themselves, and that you don't get that angry, crazy person who wants to go in and put a virus on or disrupt life, right? Because the emotion.
Absolutely, and I'm certain that's happened. We've all heard the horror stories. you know, and I think from a company's perspective, they have to protect themselves and their business. So yeah, I understand the rationale behind it, and obviously, as I said, the offer was there to image back and give me anything that I felt, was personal, that was on the laptop that I actually needed. In my case, there wasn't. So, as I said, I was lucky. Everything was there other than the few iCloud items that were syncing.
Did they offer you up a letter of reference or any help or assistance in finding something going
Yeah,
forward?
absolutely. Outplacement
Oh, cool.
services and a bunch. There was some. Look, at the end of the day, I think it was, from a severance, I think it was handled very fairly.
Cool. So you would give them good marks on having to do a shitty thing. No, because it is shitty for everybody,
It's an
right?
interesting way to put it. Look, as I said, the only thing that I wish was different was that there was a 2 days, a week, whatever it was, to do the handoff. To the team and to the person that was going to take over running that team. That would have been nice for me, just personally, but also professionally. I think would have been, something I would have liked to have done. But I understand the thought process.
I also think we're living in a different world, and it's a lot harder when you're not in the office, right? Like when you're
Yes.
somewhere else, which a lot of people are. Because in the office, if it's a decent company, they don't walk you right to the door. You're allowed to go say hello, shake hands, and chat with people. First of all, I think for a company, when they don't let people do that, it's a little scary for the people on the inside. Makes them
Yeah.
wonder what's coming, right?
Yeah,
Because
it does. And I think there's always the why, why that person, why the timing. There's a million why questions, and look, the every business has to make decisions based on their trajectory, where they want to go, what they want to do in the future. And so I don't begrudge the decision. It is the decision they made. It's their business to run. Look, at the end of the day, these people are put into positions to run a business.
yeah, well, listen, like everything else, I think it's all in how we deal with things ourselves, how we talk, how we communicate, right? The messaging that we put off. It's yeah, no, it's definitely not an easy thing, right?
No,
And I guess, and bigger the company, the colder it is,
it's
right?
interesting that you say that. I've, in this past week or so, I've spoken to several people, that have gone through something similar, and from literally billion-dollar companies down to 15 people, person in businesses. And there really isn't a one size fits all. And so I've heard stories from people that were laid off from billion-dollar companies, and it was handled with absolute empathy and professionalism. They had an opportunity to do the right thing. And yet, the flip side of that is I've heard some horror stories, I mean, just horrific stories from people over the last couple of weeks. And I think it comes down to it's all about the person, right? How do you, as an individual, on both sides of this discussion, because I don't care how what the relationship was like, what the business is, it all comes down to people, right? The way we interact with people is a unique human characteristic, and we're all different. Some people really struggle with it. I heard one person who actually got laid off, and the HR person started to tear up. um, it's a difficult, that's individual had been with the company for 18, 19 years. So it can
It's
be
family.
really
Actually,
tricky.
it's family sometimes, right?
Yeah, yeah. And you've done the Christmas party, and you've met the spouse, and in some cases the children, and so it does become a sort of a big family, and that's true even in businesses with hundreds of employees in many cases, because you've got the early employees that were there when it was 40 people, when it was 80 people, when it was 100 people. They were there through the good days and the growth, and so there is a relationship there.
Wow. Wow. Well, you know what? I think you're handling it quite well, and looking at it in a good way. So let's take a few minutes and give you some commercial space. What's up for you next?
It's funny. That's the conversations I've been having. A lot of conversations. What's interesting is several companies that have reached out to me, and it's we don't really have a position, but we think you're incredibly valuable. We think you could bring value to our business. We just need to work out where and how and when. And so for me, what I want next, I love the customers. I
First
love
of
the
all,
interaction.
I have to stop you. But how good do you feel when you get a phone call like that and someone saying, "Oh my God, like you got a lot. We got to figure out how to get you in here."
Yeah, it's pretty rewarding. I think it's the recognition. Look, I, you and I talked about this. I think the number one thing that we all have in business is our reputation, right? Have you treated people right along the way? Are you a person of your word? If you say you're going to get it done, will you get it done? Are you someone that they can trust? And that leads to these types of conversations. And the network that you've built over the years. For me, look, I love an old colleague of mine had a quote for me. He said, "Nick's never met a microphone he didn't love." I love being on stage. I love presenting. I'm an evangelist for the industry. I've been, started in pre-press, worked my way through the MIS business, understanding post-press. And so there's lots of it that interests me. I want to continue to be involved with customers on the front line and the face, developing cool products, cool solutions that aren't just cool and exciting and they look sexy, but I want to develop things that change the game for people, right? I want to be delivering solutions that people can look at and say, hey, that was a return on investment for my business. I always say to people, what would you want to be able to say when I come back here a year from now or 2 years from now? And the answer has to be, it changed my business fundamentally. It made an improvement in this area of the business. And that's what I want to continue to do.
Cool. So anybody listening, he's ready to fill out some applications. If you know people, you definitely want this guy on your team. No, that's that's really what it's all about. I
Yeah.
love it. It's me too. With what I'm doing. I mean, not having my company was a big problem. Just because I loved all the people, I loved going in. Now I don't mind not having employees that I'm responsible for, but I miss having a team. It's harder to work as a one man show, even though there's a lot of people that I connect with. But yeah, it's just so important. Just all the relations along the way. Listen, what do they tell you in life? Cliche. Treat people the way you want to be treated.
Yeah.
And I'm a big karma guy. So I try to really do the best I can with most people so that if anything comes back to me, I'm limiting the damage, right? Because the more trouble you cause, the harder it is. Even karma in the sense that when my phone rings, I take everyone's call, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm a people person, salesperson. I'm figuring, hey, if I take that call, someone's going to take my call when I reach out. Because if no one takes
Exactly.
calls, where are we all going? So it's kind of
Yeah, and please let's get back to personal communication. If people say, "Oh, I sent an email, I sent them a
fuck
text."
that.
You know what? Pick up the phone, give someone a call, talk to them live. It's so much more impactful for people to hear your
Never,
voice.
well, for the person who's calling who normally texts, they will feel better about themselves hearing a voice when they call.
Yes,
For all of us in the direct mail, multi-channel marketing, we know that those messages don't always get through. We know it.
absolutely.
So if you want to make a difference, pick up the phone. How's that for a message? Right? It's no, but it's true.
But we got to continue with print.
No, print is a given. Listen, just that's why I got all these thank you cards from all the people in the last day that have bought t-shirts that I'm sending out. Right? Went out and printed print whisper cards. I'm writing notes. Maybe you can't read my writing, but the intention is there. By the time you finish,
The intention is good.
Yeah, but by the time you finish doing a batch, nothing looks the same as when it started, right? Even my name
Yeah.
looks different. So funny story. I sent out a thank you card to a person who bought some t-shirts, and he emailed me back just the other day, and he said, "Hey, got your thank you card. Really touched. That was really nice. Nice, part of the whole experience." He goes, "Want to tell you another story?" I go, "What's that?" Or what's that? He's writing it. I'm reading it, and he said, "One of the shirts I ordered was the wrong color. I never ordered pink anything, and a pink one came. Showed it to my wife. She laughed. I wore it to the office. I had a meeting. I was the hit of the meeting. Just want to say thank you."
Love
when
it, love it.
when he started off, I'm thinking, I got a return coming here,
Yeah,
right?
that's it. And
But
but the personal touch. I mean,
it's
it really does matter. You know, I think as a society we're starting to lose that interpersonal relationship.
yeah.
And we got to bring it back. You know, people matter. The relationships you have with people matter. You know, look, I'm of an age now where a lot of the people that worked for me were, quite frankly, about the same age as my eldest daughter. And in many ways, I thought of them like more children, you know, like my children. I mentored them, I developed them, you know, I gave them opportunities, and you know, the outpouring of appreciation that I've got is a huge thing. You know, that's what I want to be remembered as professionally, as the guy that gave back.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, I'd like hopefully that works for me too, and it could be like not only work but life as well. And I think for me, I think in the last little while, it's kind of been on my mind. It's actually been on a lot of people's minds that I think of lately. The last 5 years have been extremely difficult in life for the world, right? It's not a
Yep,
me issue; it's a world issue, and we forget about the COVID, but some people have never recovered from that. And then being alone and the whole displacement and all of that, and then you get into real life and you get into economics and tariffs and people living or not being able to live. So people are a little rocky. And again, no one's alone. No one should feel alone,
correct.
right? And
Yeah,
if you know anyone who feels alone, pick up the phone and call them.
yeah,
Just do
yeah.
something. It's
Reach
wow,
out,
yeah.
reach out. Spend a few minutes. You know, just let them know that you're thinking of them. It's so important.
And it's unfortunate because we go into these thoughtful moments of thinking of others only after moments of misery
Mm,
or
all too often.
things happening that aren't so good. Maybe not misery, right?
Yeah,
But on a day to day, if everyone could have a habit of picking up a call, making one person to someone they don't speak to that often, right? It would
yeah.
be even on Facebook. I mean, I have lots of friends and fishing friends and people that I'm really not close with at all, but I like to send a message even or send something
Yeah,
funny or get a smile just to you know elevate things a little.
it really is, you know, the thing that makes a difference. It lights up your day. You know, I got a phone call from someone I hadn't worked with in 15 years, and just called and said, "Hey, I've got no advice. I can't imagine what you're going through. I just wanted to reach
They
out
just
and let you
felt.
know that
They just
I'm
felt.
thinking of you. Yeah, that I
Love
was
it.
thinking of you. And that's huge. And you know, the relationships are important. It is, and especially now, you know, in the last, yeah, if you think about 20 years ago, everybody got up, they got in their car, they went to work, they sat in an office, and the people they work with, they saw every single day. We have so much of a remote workforce now. You know, many of the people that I worked with, they've worked together for 10 or 15 years, never met, right? They're in remote parts of the world, in very different locations. They work in disparate teams, and so they never actually meet each other. And so there's a little bit of a disconnect.
Oh, believe me. I mean, after COVID and then going to Drupa and seeing 10, 15, 20 people that I was on calls with every week, like at the Crown Pub and everything. And you know them so well after the 2 years,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But physically, it's kind of like, do we give a hug? Do we give a kiss on the cheek? What do we do? Do we go to two separate telephone booths and talk to each other? Right? It's almost comical, but it's a little weird.
Yeah, but I mean, you build these relationships. I'll tell you, I went to Australia earlier this year, and obviously I left 21 years ago now. I went back for a show down there, and I walked into the show and past people, in some cases I hadn't seen in 21 years, and we picked up conversations like we'd been at the pub the day before. And that's the relationships that you build, and you have to make sure. And we all agreed that we'll make sure we stay in touch, and we've tried, but
The intention
life
is
gets
there.
in the way.
Right. Yeah, no, the intention's always there. It was actually funny. I was just with some cousins and whatever, just family nonsense, cousin family. You don't see people all the time and stuff. And they were younger ones, and I have younger kids. And I said to them the last time I saw them, I said, hey, it's enough already. There's no more we're going to get together. I said, I'm leaving here. I'm going in my car. I'm sending everybody an email and an invite to come to my house for dinner. And they were like, yeah, sure. And I did it. And then last week I had 14 people in my house for dinner, and everyone was like, why did we wait so long?
Yeah, that's it.
Right.
Why did we wait so long? I'm going to be in Vancouver for Christmas this year. And, I lived up there for 9 years, and I have a lot of former colleagues and friends that live up there. And, we all touch base from time to time. It's every couple of months, someone will send a funny joke or whatever it happens to be, some success for their kids. But we're going to get together, and it'll be just great to reconnect. And I think we as humans need to make sure we're doing that, where we're reaching out and we're connecting.
So I'm laughing because I'm thinking of one thing. So I had it's a bunch of years ago I did it, and we were a group of guys of maybe like 8 or 10 guys in high school that were like tight, and everyone was tight a few years after, and we're in a chat group and we talk. But you can go years without seeing people, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes, and you could live around the corner.
Yep.
That's the crazy thing. Anyway, so I made a dinner at my house. I had someone come in to barbecue. Some hors d'oeuvres and steaks because we were all guys. It was like meat and potato night. And I don't think we had salad. And around the table, everybody had the best time. We're eating, we're drinking, we're laughing, we're reminiscing. And everybody's like, okay, I got the next one. Well, it's been 10 years, and I think we've only done it once since.
Yeah.
So I just like real life. Right?
Intentions.
Got to make the effort. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to wrap up here. Any final words that you have for the people listening? Because, you sound really good. You look really good. And that's really nice, by the way. Because I know some people, they get wrapped up in their head and it's hard to get out of it. So kudos to you for, doing what you do and for coming on, by the way, because it's not always an easy topic that people want to talk about.
Yeah, and look, the post on LinkedIn and doing this is just to make people aware. You are not alone. You really aren't.
I'm gonna have to send you one of these T-shirts.
There are lots of people that have gone through very similar situations. You're not alone. Have that honest conversation. Be vulnerable at some level. I can remember day one and day two calling friends and saying, they said, "How do you feel?" And honestly, the only word I could come up with was numb. Because I wasn't sure. I was going through a million different thoughts in my head, and you got to get out of your head. You got to get the routine. You got to connect with people. You got to start moving forward. Now, of course, take some time, reset your life. In many cases, you've been sprinting, in your professional life, a little bit of downtime to relax. Especially here in the US, we just tend to be a culture that doesn't take vacations and enjoy that escape from work. And I think, the cell phone, while it's been a fabulous invention, has been one of the worst things ever invented because you are never disconnected from anything. And we all have that intense habit of, even if I'm on vacation, you'll do that sly look at the phone, check the email, there's a text. Take some disconnect time.
Since I got my phone, by the way, the power has never been off.
Me either.
Like I could lower the volume, I could do whatever. The power has not been off.
Yeah.
And it's kind of crazy. Right? Yep. It's and if I'm not doing an email, it's because I'm watching some stupid thing on fishing on social media. Because I haven't seen enough people catch fish yet, It just keeps
brilliant.
us. It keeps us going. So wow. First of all, great podcast today. Definitely different from what I'm used to, but just so important because the topic is real. And today we don't know what's going to go. I don't like the cliche grass is always greener on the other side, but things do happen for a reason, and you will end up you're going to end up in a way better place. And for the company to let you go, I know it was their choice, but hopefully they regret it. Why not?
Time
Gotta have a little
will
bit of
tell.
humor, right? What?
Look, time will tell on both sides.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and no bad for anybody ever.
of
We might
course.
joke about things, but you got to watch what you wish for because, or wish for others, because again, that karma thing comes around.
Yeah, I
So
believe it to be true. And I still get customers and employees reaching out to me on a daily basis with the, hey, do you remember this? Do you have any understanding? Hey, I'm still here to support the industry and the people I've worked with over the years, and that won't change.
wow. So anybody listening, so we're gonna wrap it up. But anybody listening, if you ever need anything, reach out to Nick because he just told you he's happy to talk to you. He wants to hear from you. I'm sure he could probably still help you with a few things if you need it. You know, you could do a little consulting on the side. That's always not so much fun, but it's all good. But you know what? I just like helping people when they call. That's why my consulting's not working out because I forget to tell them, like I forget to turn the meter on when they call. I'm just so excited to want to help people. But
That's
anyways,
it.
it's all good. So first of all, again, thank you so much, and only the best for you going forward. I am 100% confident you will find your place, and a few of those companies will find things for you to do within the company because that's the
I'm
way it
sure they
should be.
will.
For everybody listening, I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you walked away learning something, hearing something, making something maybe make you feel more comfortable. If you are going through something like this, do know you're not alone. And if you want to wear a t-shirt, you can go to the printwhisper.shop and buy one and look at the others and maybe buy something after. And wow, any topics, any good topics, human resource, anything you want, you call me. I want to touch on everything. I want to talk to everybody. That's it for us. Until the next time. Thanks, Nick.
Excellent.